Welcome to Advisory Insights Podcast, brought to you by Oberman Law Firm, a leading law firm serving clients across multiple industries and sectors on a local, regional, and national basis. And now, here's your host, Stuart Oberman.
Welcome, everyone. Stuart Oberman here, your host, Oberman Law Firm Podcast. All right, today, my dental listeners, we're going to talk about implants and the liability risks on implants. So this is a fantastic area to get into if you haven't started. If you're already in the implant process, I want you to take a look at what the risks are and how to avoid it. And look, one thing we got to take a look at, right? We got to take a look at is what are the high risks for implants? There carries enormous risks when you start implant processes, right? So one of the number one areas, diagnosis and poor treatment planning. I'm going to say this a million times. When I speak, whether it's podcasts, webinars, in person, informed consents are your best friends. One of the most effective ways to avoid malpractice is absolutely informed consent. So what are your injuries? We got nerve injuries. We got sinus complications. We got implant failures leading to claims. Again, I'm going to say this a million times. Documentation is your best friend. If it's not in writing, it never happened. So one of the key defenses is standardizing your pre-implant diagnosis protocols, right? Do you have a process in place? So I want to get into a little bit of the settlements, right? So if you're looking at settlements for malpractice claims on implants, right? So non-permanent injuries, loosening, failure, we're talking about 10 to 50,000. Oh, it gets better. So we're looking at moderate injuries, right? Infection, bone loss, right? Corrective procedures, multiple corrective procedures. Now we're getting up there. Now we're looking at about 250 to about 200,000. So I want to take a look at significant errors, right? Improper placements, sinus perforations, major bone damage. Oh, now we're jumping. 150 to 400,000. Examples, right? So we've got nerve injuries. We got legal nerve injuries. We got permanent loss of numbness. Now we're talking money here. $250 to $1 million in settlement. So if you have a conformed consent or you don't have a conformed consent, that will increase the value of a plaintiff's case statistically 25 to 100%. 25 to 100%. So I want to look at liabilities for failure, right? What are the most common areas of failure? We have diagnostic areas. We have poor planning, lack of informed consent. I'm going to say that a million times on this podcast, right? Defenses, again, a million times. Documentation, patient screening, poor or zero CBCT imaging. Are you keeping up to date on your technology, right? So patient expectations are through the roof on implants. The key is you have to figure out what and how to meet patient expectations. And it is tough, folks. So I will tell you, so you got the clinical side and you got a legal perspective. So a lot of times where liability may arise is bone loss, right? So you've got, or implants are prematurely or improperly stabilized. So what are your risk factors? You got infection, sterilization. Yes, I've got to say sterilization. Lack of post-operative monitoring. What are you doing care-wise once treatment is finished? What if we have a permanent condition, chronic pain? Are you addressing these issues, right? One of the highest values malpractice claims typically result from failure of poor CBCT imaging or even zero or improper planning. So I want to talk about what we're getting into the placement side. Again, improper placement, training, inadequate bone density or volume. Are you measuring these? We can't leave out occlusal overload and mechanical failures, right? So one of the biggest things, risk factors. If you have a patient that smokes or has poor oral hygiene or is non-compliant, you are asking for a disaster. You got to screen all these things before you jump in to just doing implants, right? So again, the most common things that we see on the legal side: poor CBCT imaging, missed anatomical risks, negligent replacement period, failure to refer. If this is not in your wheelhouse and you have a complex matter before you, and you know it before you start, get rid of that case. Refer it out. Manage complications and manage patient expectations. So again, best defenses: treatment planning, CBCT imaging, consent forms are your best friend. Post-op instructions: make sure the patient understands what is done and what is needed to go forward. So I want to take a look at what causes failures from a legal standpoint, right? Bone loss, poor quantity, poor quality, diabetes, smoking, medications. Are you monitoring what the patients are taking medication-wise? Lack of stability, right? So then what are the causes of late failures? Bleeding, grinding at night, right? You just put implants and all of a sudden this patient's grinding at night. Retained cement, prosthetic conditions are inadequate, and you got a trauma occlusal treatment, right? These are all things that lead to failures and complications. So, folks, that is a lot. That's a lot. But there's some basic themes that we discussed during this podcast that if you implement, it will work out so much better. And you will succeed in having great work, great patients, and a great practice. Thanks again for joining us. Stuart Oberman here, your host. Have a fantastic day.